BreyerPoet here, and today I'm going over my opinions and some speculations I have about this year's BreyerFest models. I will only be going over special runs, the limited edition, and tent models, as the prize models are very limited and I don't feel I need to give my opinion on them. Just as a disclaimer, this is my personal opinion. Starting off, we have Nicholas, this year's Celebration Horse. He's a really nice color, very solid and very buckskin, which we haven't seen a buckskin Celebration Horse since 2000, which was a paint. So it's nice to see somewhat of a new color pattern. For his mold, based off of Breyer's promos, he doesn't look quite right to me. Could just possibly be the angles that I'm seeing him from, but I definitely can't wait to see him in person to get a good feel for him. But overall, I'm excited to add Nicholas to my collection. Moving on to the event seal mates, I think they all definitely fit the theme very well. I'm not the biggest fan of some of their molds, but their patterns and colorings are very pretty. I will be getting one of these models during BreyerFest, and I'm really hoping for the Albi, as I do slightly conga that mold. Our first special run is Landlord. He is a gorgeous rose gray, and when I first saw him, he was definitely one of my favorites, but since then my preferences have changed, and now he's a bit lower on my list for special runs that I would like to add to my collection. But I do have a feeling he'll have some really cool color variations with him being a rose gray and having a bit of that roning, possibly having some really dark variations, and then he'll have some with more or less roning, which will be really cool to see. Next we have Elban Spree, a very cute mare in full set with some really nice coloring. They are personally not my favorite, although I do really like their molds. I think I definitely prefer them in solid colors, but they are a really cute pair. Moving on to one of the most popular, if not the most popular special run, Stein. I like his coloring. Breyer doesn't make gorillas very often, but the Fireheart mold is one of my least favorites. I don't really know why. He just doesn't really feel like a Mustang to me. He reminds me of more like a lighter draft than a Mustang. Then we have the surprise, who I'm not going to say much about, as I will be making a surprise horse speculation video, but I am very excited to find out who the surprise horse will be. Then we have the Breyer Bears. They are probably the most creative non-special run Breyer has done, in my opinion. They are not only scented, but are also clear wear, which is really fun. My only worry is that with them being scented, that the scent actually comes through and isn't a gross smelling scent. Because in some cases, scenting plastic doesn't go very well. Next we have Marzipan. Personally, my top special run choice. His color and pattern are really stunning to me, and I do have a stock horse obsession, so he definitely is my favorite and definitely need him for my conga. Next up is Franz. I am not a deco collector and I do not like this spirit mold, but the mold does fit the reference Breyer was going for very well. To me, he looks like a 3D version of the horse in the painting, which is what they based him after, so props to Breyer in that part. He's just definitely not one of my favorites. Then we have Brahmas. Another one of my favorites. The Big Ben mold is slowly becoming a favorite of mine, and black and white patterns with gloss always look really nice on this mold, so I'm excited to see him in person, and hopefully I'll be able to snag one at BreyerFest. The last special run we have is Rapunzel. I really like her strawberry roan coloring, but I'm not the biggest fan of the mold. Personally, her roached mane fits her much better than the loose mane. That being said, my speculation with her is that she will have the mane and tail split, as she is the only special run with two different mane options. Moving on to our limited edition models, we have Montanera. His color is gorgeous and his mold is one of my favorites. I have been starting a small conga on the older Frisian mold, so I am excited to add him to my collection and can't wait to see him in person. Moving on to Chardonnay, which I am a really big sucker for red horses, and this guy is stunning. He would definitely be up on my list of must-haves if he was on a different mold. I do like the flash mold, but it's not one of my favorites and not really one I need to add to my collection. Up next is Chablis. Honestly, one of my favorites from this year. His markings are super cute and his coloring is gorgeous. and those dapples look amazing on him. I can't wait to see what variations he'll have. I'm sure there'll be the really nice and dark ones and some really light ones as well. Next up is Black Forest. Now, I don't collect classics, but I do really like this mold. His pattern and coloring are really cute and do remind me of the Black Forest cake that Breyer has based him after. And overall, he is a really cute model, but just not for me. Moving on to this year's plushie, we have Stradel, who is one of the cutest plushies that I have seen. His little outfit is adorable, and if I collected BreyerFest plushies, he would definitely have to come home with me. Moving on to the Redness Draft, he is really cute and a really pretty color, but I'm not a big fan of the mold. He was one of my favorites when he first came out, but again, my preferences have changed since then, so I will not be getting him. Next up is Whittlesbuck. He is really cute, but whenever I look at him, I get deja vu from BreyerFest 2018 Special Run Newmarket. I find it kind of funny that the two BreyerFests that I am going to or have gone to in person both have the same colored pattern model. I will probably end up coming home with him anyway, just because I usually get the BreyerFest stablemats from every year I go to. Next up, we have a model that I'm going to butcher his name. I believe it's Alina, who I feel is kind of bland. He definitely illustrates the theme Breyer was going for, but he's just really not for me. For the best of BreyerFest set, I don't really have an opinion on these guys. These sets are always really nice, and depending on their molds, are usually end up being my favorites. In Series 3, my favorite stablemate is probably the Walking Thoroughbred. Our last BreyerFest model is Lorelai the Crystal for this year. Now, I don't collect the crystals or models on the pan mold, but she's definitely not a favorite. She kind of reminds me of a giraffe due to her proportions, but I'm really hoping it's just her promos and she doesn't actually look like this in person. Now I want to hear from you guys. Who's your favorite BreyerFest model from this year, and who do you think will have the glossy split and mane and tail split? I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!